Greetings, Earthlings! Welcome back to 7th Street.
What are you?
What I am.
Who I am is no concern of yours. I am not the killer.
Ah, yes! One of the most underrated horror movie franchises of all time. HELLRAISER. The first HELLRAISER movie is like this close to being in my top 25 favorite horror movies of all time. And I actually genuinely really like all of the sequels. I do. I dig them all. Especially the subject of today's video.
HELLRAISER INFERNO is the 5th movie in the HELLRAISER franchise, and the one that seems to get the most amount of flack, and undeservingly so. HELLRAISER INFERNO is, in my opinion, not only not as bad as everyone says, it's actually one of the best in the entire franchise. Whenever people gripe about the HELLRAISER sequels, it's always the same complaint over and over and over. Whenever anyone starts a review with, "I hate this HELLRAISER movie," it's almost always followed up by, "There's not enough Pinhead." This complaint always bothers me. It's for this reason that I enjoy the HELLRAISER franchise as much as I do. You mean you don't like the fact that the movie is interesting and different and concentrates on its main characters instead of following a tired formula that we've all seen before? Newsflash! The franchise was never supposed to be about Pinhead or any of the other Cenobites specifically. The first movie, the work of horrific art that is the first HELLRAISER, also has very little Pinhead in it. Pinhead is in barely 8 minutes of the first film.
We'll tear your soul apart.
The main reason that HELLRAISER stands out among horror films was not because of the Cenobites, but because of its themes. Barker weaves shades of love, eroticism, and of course, pain and pleasure into his tale of demons, both literally and figuratively, that all climaxes in a sick and twisted morality tale like a Twilight Zone from hell.
Welcome to hell.
But we're not here to talk about the first HELLRAISER movie. Oh no! We're here to talk about HELLRAISER 5 Inferno.
HELLRAISER Inferno begins like any other great horror film, with a friendly game of chess.
Played right into my game, Professor.
It's here that we meet our lead character of the film, Detective Joseph Thorne, a very intelligent yet shady Denver police detective that within the first 10 minutes of the film, we as the audience discover that Mr. Thorne has a taste for the cocaine and ladies of the night, despite the fact that he has a wife and a daughter at home.
Most marriages fail. Most men just leave. I know that would kill her. But if she doesn't know, if doing this keeps me coming back, then who is to say what's right and what's wrong?
How about your wife?
One day, Detective Thorne comes across a bizarre and brutal ritualistic murder. Other than swiping the victim's coke stash and cash from his wallet, Thorne manages to steal the puzzle box associated with the crime, also known as the Lament Configuration, eventually solving the puzzle box in the bathroom of the streetwalker that he picks up later that night. Solving the puzzle box causes Detective Thorne to have a bizarre nightmare that includes a mint green room, a legless chattering teeth monster, oh, and a pair of sexy Cenobite twins that like to stick their hands underneath your skin and rub about on your innards. How is he enjoying this?
Oh, hi, Mark.
While at the police station the next morning, Detective Thorne gets a call from the prostitute that he laid some pipe on just the night before. But instead of whispering sweet nothings in his ear, Thorne listens as the prostitute is brutally murdered on the other end. Now, a responsible cop would call in the incident immediately and tell the truth about the night before so that he could at least clear his name for murder. But fuck that! Bad Lieutenant 2.0 here decides to secretly implicate his partner in the crime so that he has a fall man in case the investigation reaches back to him. Man, I tell you what, I really like this horror noir crime drama thing. It's kind of like a precursor to Max Payne or something, with its creepy, dreamlike sequences and hard-boiled, druggy anti-star. Like I said earlier, one of my favorite things about the HELLRAISER series is that it's sort of like an anthology, with reoccurring themes and an omnipotent reoccurring character that always brings the main subject of the story to some sort of justice. Anyway, back to the movie. After assuring himself an alibi via his partner, Detective Thorne goes on a rogue mission to find the identity of the killer. This, of course, only leads to more deaths that accumulate in the wake of Thorne's investigation. It seems that every street thug that he investigates turns up dead, at one point leaving a videotape behind showing Detective Thorne the true face of the killer. This is the Engineer, one of the more underrated Cenobites in my opinion. I like how he kinda looks like Nemesis from Resident Evil 3. Eventually, Thorne is driven into insanity while working the case and is subjected to a violent psychological torment where he must battle his demons with a goddamn shotgun. Once again reminding this reviewer of something out of Max Payne. Most people despise this sequence, and yes, it is rather cheesy, but I enjoy it. It sure does come out of nowhere and spices up the third act of this film.
I miss you, Daddy. When are you coming home?
Soon, Detective Thorne discovers that this is only the beginning of his punishment for the cruel life that he has led, and Pinhead reveals that all the events of this movie have happened because he has been inside the labyrinth ever since solving the puzzle box.
Went with the Jacob's Ladder ending, huh? Nice.
But wait, there's more. After being ripped apart by Pinhead, Detective Thorne wakes up back in the hooker's bathroom. He is relieved that it was all just a dream, and he goes back to work, where he receives the same phone call from the hooker being murdered, and then he does this.
No! Don't do it!
It's hard for me to put into words exactly what it is that I admire about this film. Maybe it's the neo-noir aspect, maybe it's the multiple obvious influences like Jacob's Ladder, Seven, or Bad Lieutenant, or maybe it's just that it's different. Even for a HELLRAISER film, which are all different feeling, this one stands out as the really different one. And I enjoy that. Fuck! Who doesn't love an underdog? Yes, it was about at this time in the series that Dimension Films started digging through their old crates of unproduced scripts in an attempt to insert HELLRAISER themes just to keep the series running. But unlike most people, this still doesn't bother me. As I said before, the Hellraiser series always felt anthology-like to me anyway, and just like writing an episode of The Twilight Zone or The Outer Limits, I imagine that you'd start with the main story, and then work in the twists and themes that the series was known for later. All in all, Hellraiser Inferno is underrated. Period.
I know this one is considered to be the low point of the series, but just do me a favor. Go back and watch this one with an open mind, and reference this film.
The eternal refrain of humanity. Pleading ignorance, begging for mercy. Please help me. I don't understand.